Hi there, everybody. I'm totally inspired by all these projects. So we had a tiny grant, so we're very grateful to have received $550 to help us create better habitat for pollinators at our Richford Elementary School. So if you want to show the next slide, I think I've got just one of the children there. As you can see in the background, we do have woods. There's a big soccer field there, but if you go to the next slide, you can kind of see that we are surrounded by woods on a couple sides of the school, and it is wonderful habitat. I feel very grateful that there's a brook on one side and there are woods and kids can really explore great habitats on two sides of the school. But of course, every school needs a soccer field and a baseball field and all that softball. But there's a big swath of just plain green that really serves no other purpose but to kind of be green, maybe look pretty, but it really deters from habitat for pollinators and wildlife in general. So we wanted to create awareness about that with our public, and what better way to start than with our children. So we decided back a year ago this time to try to fix that there. And we happen to have the opportunity for a grant from the Upper Missisquoi and Trout River Committee. So You Matter, those are federally designated wild and scenic rivers. So they have grants available, and every year it's a different theme. So we did garner a grant from them to support habitat for bats and pollinators. So we had some things going, but we needed a little more funding to create our vision of what we could do at Richford Elementary School. So that's where the tiny grant came in. So you can see where the school is, and we created a pollinator garden in back of the school where it was next to what was already a a school for the kids, and a garden for the kids in the school, which kind of gets planted in the spring. Some years there are people that work on it over the summer, and sometimes weeds come in, but there is an effort back of the school. So we created a 7-foot swath by 20-foot plot in back of the school. And we rototilled it twice in the spring to get it ready. And maybe go to the next slide. What we did was we basically had adults that helped with different parts of the project. We reached out to mostly the after school program there. So we had a couple of times with the after school program, quite a few children helped pollinate, helped spread seeds in the garden, and also painted little mason bee nest houses that they could put up there and also take home. And it resulted in lots of flowers and happy pollinators. So if you go to the next slide, we'll see some of what took place. So there you've got the kids trampling down the seeds that they have thrown into the garden. They created little seed bombs earlier in another session that they then sprinkled in the garden. And then that's our Richford Conservation Commission member, Dan Seeley, on the left of the slide or the picture on the left. And he's talking to the kids. And then in the next slide, you can see him going over the plot with snowshoes, which the kids thought was pretty hilarious, but we did too. But that tamped it all down. And then if you go to the next slide, this is a slide of the mason bee nest houses that we had another session to tell them about the importance of our native wild bees. Honeybees, we shared that are not native to Vermont, even though they are important for our fruits and pollination, but we have a lot of wild bees that need our help as well. And that's why we were planting the pollinator garden. And so Dan had made all these nest houses. The You Matter grant paid for the lumber for that, but the kids all painted these and brought them home. So next slide. And so this was part of our effort was to spread awareness. We created these signs and encouraged the public on Front Porch Forum and in the newspapers, and just to get people to not mow their lawns in the month of May. So we offered these signs to children at the school to take home. We offered them through the public library, try to get the word out. So I don't know if you remember, but May was a pretty warm, May was pretty warm, and then we got all the rain in the summer. But so we had some success with that. I think people had to maybe mow their lawns by Memorial Day. It was getting pretty rough if they had to, but we definitely heard back from people that they tried to curtail the parts of their garden that they mowed. So it's sort of spread awareness of what you can do in your own property. Next slide. So the ABCC Tiny Grant let us build on this awareness, and we bought wildflower seed native to the Northeast, and we packaged it up. We had a Conservation Commission member meeting, and we just cut these little labels, and then we bought little packets and packaged up the seed to give away, and we gave those to the school children. We offered them at the public library and at the town hall for free. So we distributed a lot of seed packets for the public. So hopefully there were more wildflower gardens all over our township. Next slide. So this is the pollinator garden in the summer. The pollinator seed mix was a variety of annuals and perennials. So we are going to watch and see what comes up next year, but it was full of a lot of cosmos and rudbeckia this year. So the pollinators were definitely there. The times that we have gone to check it, it's been loaded with native bees. So that's been great to see, and butterflies as well. Next slide. Just more views of the garden, so you can kind of see the school in the background there. Next slide. And just some close-ups of the wildflowers that came up, and a native bee right there. Next slide. And then we also collected milkweed this time last year, milkweed seeds, knowing that we wanted to do this project. So the school children also spread milkweed seeds in an area that was already had a little bit of milkweed in there, but we roughed up the soil near it, and in a spot where it's not going to bother anybody, and just create more habitat for pollinators. So the kids could see in the fall when they came back to school that there were definitely some success with for monarch butterflies there. Next slide. So we checked things throughout the summer. Some of the plants, we also bought bushes. Oh, sorry, I'm focusing on the pollinator garden, but we also bought bushes for pollinators. So we bought 30 bushes from the Franklin County Conservation District in the spring. And so we wanted to support another conservation organization with that project, and the ABCC grant helped us do that. So we bought 10 winterberry bushes, 10 elderberry bushes, and 10 American cranberry bushes that would have lots of blossoms for pollinators, but be also good for songbirds and other wildlife with their berries later. So we planted all those in the spring. They were bare root, and you can see some of them with the little flags there. They were very small. So one of the lessons that we learned was it's maybe better to buy bigger bushes, because we did lose some of those over the wet summer. I think we weren't that concerned. It was wet. We were a little when we planted them. We came back and watered them, but then it got up to be a very rainy summer. So, but when we checked down and realized some of them probably drowned, or the weeds got around them, we should have mulched them a little bit better. So we just purchased some more bushes a few weekends ago, and we worked with a local nursery who gave us a discount, and we got with the winterberries, you never know what you're getting to. You need a male. So we have one nice full-size male now, and then we bought 3 other females. So that's us. Next slide too, just planting those this fall or early September. and we mulched those. We got a free load of mulch, which was great, from a local wood chip plant that is literally right in back of the railroad tracks behind the school. So they brought over a load of mulch, which was wonderful. So next slide. Yeah, so just more views of those winterberry bushes, which we put along the edge of the garden or the field there in back of the school. And then we also bought a couple plants for a memorial garden that was out front of the school. Again, you can see that that's a really wide swath of mowed lawn, but there was an existing garden there in memory of a guidance counselor who passed away about 30 years ago. And it had a dead crabapple. So we removed the dead crabapple and we put instead a Weigelia in the foreground there in front of the birdhouse, and a dwarf Korean tree lilac, which I have a Korean lilac at my house, and it is loaded with tiger swallowtail butterflies in the spring. It smells beautiful. So that will be great for spring pollination. Next slide. That's all funding from AVCC that paid for that. And then so next year, we're hoping to have some more programs with the children. And I'm totally inspired by Jericho's like soft landing project. And maybe we can do some of that around the trees, but also your QR code. We want to get some signage out and do some more programs with kids so that we keep the awareness alive with them. So if we also could create some signage around the garden would be great. And next year we plan to also see what comes up for perennials and donate some from our own gardens. Definitely native type perennials, asters, that kind of thing. And following Jericho's, I loved your slide of all the different ones that you picked. And we definitely want to have a variety of native plants for all the different seasons that will bloom in the different parts of the season. So next slide. Okay, so there used to be a couple of crab apples actually in front of the school, and they were great for not only pollinators in the spring when they blossom, but also songbirds in the fall and winter as well, and early spring when the migrants come back. So there is one crab apple on the campus right now, and that one has berries that hold over the winter and are great for early migrants. We plan to if you show the next slide, where we've talked to our local nursery, and he is ordering for us. If you go to the next slide.
That's the last slide I have.
Oh, that's
sorry.
Oh, okay. I added some. Gosh, it's a Google Doc. So
we do wrap up soon, Annette, if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah, so we're just so we're getting a sugar time crab apple, which will be good for not only the blossoms but the berries as well. So what we learned was with crab apples, you really need to worry about the variety that you get. Not just that it looks pretty, but some varieties are not great for pollinators, and the berries are inedible because they're just bred that way to not be attractive for birds or to not drop on the ground. So yeah, so thank you again. It will be a project that now we have infrastructure that will have long-lasting benefits because we're going to do more with that garden. So thank you so much.